You guys know what time it is. Get strapped in and ready for some good times. This is the Blowed Out Podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is I, your favorite fatty with a natty. As always, here in beautiful northern Utah. How's everybody doing? I would brag about the weather we've been having, which I probably still will, and technically just did, even though we're supposed to go back from first spring tomorrow for the rest of the week. Looks like we might get a little bit of last-minute precipitation and some of that white stuff. Hopefully it stays up there in the rocks rather than down here where it hurts, but, you know, technically, we need it, so I guess I can't bitch too much. Other than that, I actually got a sunburn on Saturday. It's been so nice around here. Sorry to rub that in for any of you guys who are dealing with some of the nastier weather, especially in places that don't typically get it. Well, by the time this hits your eardrums, it will be March 31st. Somehow, which is wild. Also means 16 days till I am officially 50. Ugh. I called the mortuary and scheduled a same-day cremation for just after the cake. So everything should work out well, I think, at this point. At least that part's sewn up. No one has to worry about it. They can just decide what to do with my shovel full of cement. Did you guys hear about that? The mortuary in Colorado, I believe. I would have to double check, but found, a gang of rotten, maggot-filled corpses, just out in the backyard. And they inquired as to where all the cremations came from, and turns out they were just sending people home with an urn full of cement. I mean, technically, at least it's value added. I mean, at least you got cement, which at probably $50 a yard nowadays. At least you're still getting something out of it. Good Lord. The other thing is, you would never know. It's not like anybody's opening that bag up and, checking. I mean, I guess the folks who are getting it tattooed or put in the rings or the fancy glassware, which, by the way, is super cool. I think there's a place out of Seattle that does that stuff. It's actually really cool, but you're going to pay for it. And the tattoo stuff, I don't know about that. That's a little bit too jailhouse for my taste. I'm always worried that I'm going to push the ink no matter what, so I think I'll stick to just chemicals. Unfortunately, along with spring comes orange barrel season, and apparently Utah has decided to just get in on that right out of the gate because we are fully immersed in orange barrel season already. My normal 14, 16-ish minute drive home from work tonight took me somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 because, why not funnel I-15 down to one lane for all the folks that choose to drive at night to avoid daytime crap. Nothing pisses me off worse than those folks, I know it's none of you guys, but the folks that decide they're going to run right up to that barrel that they can't get around anymore before they try and merge. Makes me want to punch babies. Do it. Haas, especially the clown like tonight in the Corvette that went out around the barrels to get in front of me and then snake his way back in. Haas, I will put your Corvette right into those orange barrels. I do not give a shit. I don't care what you paid for it. I don't care what you your custom license plate says. I don't care who you think you are. I will put you into those barrels and cry all the way home because laughing just isn't hard enough. You dirtbag sons of bitches. Yes, I said it. I don't know what is so hard about zipper merging, and then we don't have to wait 20 or 30 minutes. It's just a nice little, transition. We may have to slow down from 70, of course. There's a lot of cars. But guess what doesn't happen when all you dumb bastards just stack up right at the barrels? You may or may not have noticed that that's one of those things that really, really irks the old fat man here. I think it's fair to say also, at least here in North America, that with gas prices getting really out of control over all this horseshit in the Middle East, I don't want to waste any more than necessary. Because, we're still pretty low in the grand scheme of things, but it's over $4, and God forbid I still owned a diesel. It was like $5.29, which is just obscene. And I realized that there's a lot of folks other places that would kill for those prices. So I'm sorry for that, but around here, that hurts. So let's go ahead and see if we can't figure out the whole merge thing. Can we? Please? Pretty please for everyone? That'd be super cool. Speaking of all the mess in the Middle East that was supposed to be over by now, but guess we don't need to mention that for anyone. And all these No Kings protests again, which we've talked about this a million times, so no need to say too much more on that, other than the fact that they are continuing to be, or get, rather, more ridiculous with some of the participants, and also still becoming not peaceful, and people getting run over, and all the dumb shit that goes along with them, because some folks keep forgetting that the sidewalk is where you protest, not the street, and you can't stop a 4,000-pound car. Sorry, you just can't. I wish you could. I wish I could. Hell, I wish I was strong enough to, but I know that I'm not. And for some of us, I know that I'm stronger than some of you, and I still can't. And I'm a weakling. I'm still stronger than a lot of folks. I can't stop one either. So guess what I'm not going to do? Stand in front of one and wait for it to run my dumbass over. Sorry, just me. I know. Won't be the first time that my opinion has been unpopular. However, I am curious to know if someone, or all of you, could reach out, at least here in North America. I am curious to know who, or if, you are still waving your American flag at your house. The reason I bring that up is I was outside letting Engineer Dog do her thing and partaking in some nicotine, and realized that my flag holder is still busted from the last giant windstorm. Thinking to myself, my inner dialogue telling itself that, oh yeah, I forgot, we still need to fix that so I can get the flag back up. Because I don't know about you guys, or all of you guys, rather, I still believe that I am super proud to be from here. This is still one of the greatest countries on earth, and, I am still free to sit here and say all the dumb shit that I sit here and say. So I'm still going to proudly wave my flag, But I'm curious how many people are not. And if you choose not to anymore, is it because you are worried about being targeted by some of these crazies? So, again, I think that's a legitimate question. Do you take it down, or have you taken it down so that a couple of whack jobs just cruising down the street don't decide to target your house? I'm curious about that because I feel like that's a thing now. But I also feel like I'm willing to do that and deal with it if and when it happens. So, something to think about. Like I said, I'm genuinely curious. Back to the whole Middle East issue, which, again, we don't have to talk about at length. I think we can all agree that some of it has been handled poorly, much like a lot of other things, but that is not inherent to this administration. I am starting to be curious. Well, I suppose concerned might be the better word, that this is going to continue being dragged out and continue to have months-long impact on the economy, which is still obviously crazy. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I believe we talked last time about the fact that this is not only affecting gas prices, but all petroleum things, all things petroleum. And the longer it gets dragged out, the longer that screws aren't put where they belong or white flags are raised, that long-term ramifications will continue to stack up. And that's going to be a problem when we were already facing not great prices on, all of those things, including groceries and everything else, obviously trickle down. When gas is $6 a gallon or $5 a gallon or $9 a gallon, then of course the cost of eggs and bread and milk and all of these things that rely on diesel powered devices to get them where they're going or process them, of course, and we sadly are the ones to suffer. And of course, this is nothing new. I don't mean to say that as though anyone didn't realize that, but that is where I start to have concerns. I don't think the madness in the world or the country is going to continue getting worse, like by the day, because of those things. I think it's going to do that naturally. I think that the madness is going to continue and get worse. I don't see it plateauing, unfortunately. But I don't think it will be driven by petroleum prices or whether or not we are still, occupying the Strait of Hormuz. Those things need to go away just because that's not what it was ever meant to be. We certainly don't need to be deploying boots for ground. That's just bad. We don't need to be doing that. Again, I don't think in the grand scheme of things, those will be the reasons that the crazies continue being crazy or, God forbid, get crazier. Of course, along with all of that comes, the talks of midterms and everything else. I wish that there was better education out there, and I could be wrong, but I think that a lot of the crazies have some misconception about what the primaries are for, first of all, or what they will do depending on which way they are won. So there's that. But I also generally or genuinely believe that there's a lot of misinformation. I mean, we know that. We've talked about that before. There's a hell of a lot of misinformation and miseducation being spread about, mostly, obviously, by social and mainstream media. But I don't think that the majority of folks quite understand how it works. Like, there seems to be a lot of people who think that, just if we get a Democratic House, or a Democrat-run House or Senate, like all things will just go away or be over, or that, like, Trump is allowed to do certain things that he's not. He's just not. He can try, and just like we've seen already, he tried a bunch of stuff, and they said, nope, not going to happen, and overturned it. So those things will continue to be in place. But again, I don't like, and let's be honest, who cares what I like? But it's disturbing how many folks think that all that can just be changed with, one little thing. like even the protests. Are people listening? Sure. The people who are listening, once they hit more than 10 people in, downtown Podunk, USA, they're always listening. Even the 10 people in Podunk, USA, somehow someone is listening. It doesn't mean it's going to change anything, and it certainly doesn't mean that changes the listening folks' ability to do anything about it. Like, I don't know why that's such a thing, seemingly now, that they don't realize that there is only so much anyone can do, regardless of who that person is, and the things necessary to change it cannot be done overnight. I'm also would be curious to see, like, there's still a seemingly large percentage of support for everything that's going on. And while I don't agree or disagree with any of that, it's interesting to me that the division, and again, we've talked about that a million times, the division, however, just keeps getting worse. Like, the only thing that certain percentages are coming together and agreeing upon seems to be the protests. But if you watch some of the clips and the footage and everything from these protests, like, they're just up in the night, a lot of them. And I'm not trying to be mean or anything else. They're within their rights to do so, but like half of them can't even tell you why they're there other than, well, I don't know, it was a big thing going on, and I don't like kings either, so I agree, and I'm here, and I painted my face orange, and it's crazy that when asked, they can't even provide an answer, a lot of them. And I'm not saying that that's the majority, of course, but I don't understand why you would just go and gallivant around with a sign, that says and a lot of them are literal just gibberish. Like, my body, my choice, Iran, Palestine, no, king bad, orange, grass, yeah. Like, a lot of it just doesn't even make sense, and I can't wrap my head around that. I don't know if you guys can. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I choose to steer clear enough of all of it involvement-wise that, it just doesn't make sense to me because I choose not to even involve myself with it other than these talks that we have. Like locally? Nah, I'm sorry. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I've got a bunch of fabrication work rolling through the shop. We've got cars and bikes and stuff to work on. We've got hill climbs coming up. I simply just don't have time to go and do these things. And again, I know I get told often that, well, I'm part of the problem. Choosing to stay silent is part of the problem. Well, I don't think that's necessarily true, but, I've said it before. I could be wrong. It's hard to say. I hope in the grand scheme of things that everybody somehow or eventually gets at least some of what they are looking for. I hope it pans out well for all of us, obviously, globally and here at home. But again, I've got stuff to do. I've got bills to pay. I have no time to just go be gallivanting in the street. Have you seen the price of gas? I've got to make money. I can't go. That sign isn't going to pay my bills. Sorry. I love you guys, and I wish you the best, but not for this guy. Anyhow, going to take a quick one, and we'll be back. Hey, folks. Ryan here, a.k.a. the Fatty with a Natty. Are you a business owner or marketing director looking to explore advertising on the Blowed Out podcast? As we prepare to enter our 4th season, we've gained a listening audience in over 125 cities spread across 21 countries worldwide. That includes a very large listening base right here in northern Utah. To find out how we can help your business grow or to discuss pricing and frequency options, email us at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com and be sure to include marketing in the subject line. Again, that's blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com, subject marketing. Well, that was that. Here we are. If you guys happen to know of anyone who would like to advertise on the show, I would certainly appreciate you sending them my way. It'd be super nice to get a couple of advertisers or sponsors on board just to help a fat guy out. It's all right if not. Been going this long without it, but, still be cool. Be cool just to say I had one. But, anyhow, back to the old sunburn on the top of my covered with hair dome that I got on Saturday. I was cleaning out my shed, the storage shed that I've been paying gross amounts of money for way too long. Come across a bunch of really cool stuff that I had been just storing. But now I am going to get them put up, and I will start to post some pictures of that stuff as I get it up in the new space here. One of which is a Gary Miser original airbrush. It's actually a t-shirt, but now it's framed as a picture from 82. That's been one of my favorites, Lord, since I was single digits. So huge shout out to Gary Miser. If anyone is familiar with his work, amazing airbrush artist. Now based out of Tennessee. I also found a super cool piece. Well, I know it was there, but stumbled upon and is no longer sitting in a storage shed from my very dear friend Lenny Lay, who has moved on from this world, that he originally was painting for the top of my toolbox. So now I've got that back out of storage. It's a super cool airbrushed piece as well. Just cool stuff. Found my piece of the Birkdahl Streamliner that I was present for in, 2002, 2003. Yeah, it's been a long time ago, but crashed out at the Salt Flats at 300 plus miles an hour with my dear friend Bo inside piloting, and barrel rolled 9 times, 300 plus again. So I have that chunk of that race car body that I'm going to be hanging up. We spent a lot of time working on that car. Lots of good times. So just a lot of cool history, cool stories. The Lenny piece, I don't know if I've ever told you guys. Lenny unfortunately passed away from cancer in 2005. Sorry, I had to check the tattoo. The dates escape me anymore, but there was a lot of fantastic times. He was one of my best friends on the planet. He was also super tight with my sister, who also passed away 4 years before that. But there's a lot of stories about that. Salt Flat stories, working on car stories. The time that we were painting flames, I was helping him paint flames on another buddy's 40 Ford Coupe, if I remember right. And he was in a wheelchair by this point. He had some crazy, super rare brain tumor that had manifested in his spinal cord. And unfortunately, the only way to deal with it was to cut it out completely. And to do that, they had to take all of the spinal cord that it was intertwined in, hence leaving him in a wheelchair. And he was a pretty good sport about it. We had a lot of fun. Even the wheelchair days, we used to make people really upset for doing cripple jokes and things of that nature. But it was like we were having fun and we were leaning into it rather than choosing to see it as something derogatory. But the time that we were doing the flames on the old coupe, I was on one side of the car, masking off some stuff, and he was on the other side of the car in his wheelchair trying to either lay out or possibly even be painting by this time. It's hard to say now. I don't recall. Like I said, all of these things were many, many moons ago, so it escapes me, but I couldn't see him. I'm obviously, but we're on different sides of the car just doing our own thing. And so it wasn't like I needed to watch him or babysit him or anything, but I hear, "Ah!" And he starts cussing up a storm, and I glance up over the car and I can't see him. I'm like, what in the hell? So I go around the end of the car and he's laying on the floor out of his wheelchair. I was like, what in the hell? I said, what are you doing down there, Richard? And he, of course, screams something along the lines of, F you fat bastard, help me up. Well, he was trying to do some of the flames down towards the rocker and the running boards of this Ford. Well, he leaned a little too far forward in his wheelchair and just blip right out onto the floor. And then was just kind of just laying there because he couldn't get his ass back into his chair. And I thought, oh my hell. And that was probably the first time that we realized that we needed to bungee cord him into his wheelchair because he was constantly doing things that would flop him out of his wheelchair, whether he liked it or not. And again, luckily we always laughed about it, and we can still laugh about it because he's one of the few guys I've ever had to bungee cord in. Well, he's the only guy I've ever had to bungee cord into a wheelchair, but that was only the first of many. Great dude. Miss him dearly. Hope he's somewhere with my mom and my sister and the other handful of some of the best friends I've ever had in my life, just sitting on a beach drinking umbrella drinks somewhere. But hey, like I said, I get to have some of these cool art pieces that they've done, at least to live on and keep those memories somewhere in the abyss of my mind. So there you go. There was story time. Nah, you know what? We're going to keep going. Story time's kind of fun. Hope you guys enjoy it. It's kind of fun. It's comical. It gives you a glimpse into some of the crazy and just unbelievable shit that we've done over the years, which is kind of the reason I started this whole thing. Is some of this stuff you just can't make up, and we've done so much of it for so many years that the stories need to be told. And anyhow, when Lenny got sick again, the timeline's skewed, so I guess I have to give a little backstory. But so he got diagnosed with a tumor in his spinal cord. They went in and tried to get rid of it. So cut open his back, and of course completely screwed him up. Put him back together. Came out of that basically busted, obviously. I don't know probably anyone who's ever had a full-on opened up back surgery that has either ever been the same or will tell you that they didn't regret it. Anyhow, they come out and said, well, shit. Unfortunately, it's like spider webbed in there. I'm sure there's a proper term for that, but it was so intertwined in his spinal column cord, both. Hell, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I just like rocks. But so opened his back, busted him, completely screwed him up, told him they couldn't do shit about it, got like 5% or some dumb thing out. So he kind of worked his way back into mobility from that, but still knowing that it was there. And then they said, well, at some point they had some super Wookiee team of doctors from all around the world working on his case because it was this specific type of tumor that never manifested itself outside of the brain. So they had all kinds of dudes from all over the world working on it, working on a solution or trying to figure out what to throw at it. And they finally came back and said, well, okay, and of course, sprinkling in chemo and things of that nature along the way. And finally said, well, we can get rid of it, but you'll never walk again. We can get rid of it 100%. We're confident that we can get rid of it 100%, but you'll never walk again. And by this point, his quality of life was not all that fantastic as it was, so he opted to do that, and unfortunately had to drive himself to the hospital knowing that he would never drive away. And again, that's something that I can't speak of as far as how he internalized it or anything of that nature, but he decided to do it and did, and then was kind of good for, like 2 years, maybe, ish. And that's, when painting cars and those things came about, going to the bar and and saying dumb things to random strangers who didn't know that we had 6 senses of humor, about how long we had been sitting at a table, and Lenny would flail around and say, only the last 2 years, and roll away as though he was really pissed off and offended that they had asked the question, only to make them cry. Meanwhile, he's just around the corner at the bar laughing hysterically. We did that a lot. Almost got myself tased and arrested one time at the air show because I told him to hurry up while he was going through security, and he said something. This is just how we worked. It was a dynamic, and so I said, "Jesus Christ, you cripple, would you hurry up?" And he hollered back, like I said, "F you, fatty, you fat piece of shit, whatever." So I would go over and I would lift up the one side of his wheelchair and I would pop one of his back wheels off, had the little quick release hub, and I would throw his wheel and just drop him back down on the pavement. and the very corn-fed guy with the M4 security forces guy at the gate decided that I was a piece of shit for doing that and didn't realize that we were friends. So he was about to tase and detain me, and Lenny was laughing so hysterically that he was squeaking while I was pleading for him to please tell the dude that we're friends and we're just playing around before I get shot. And of course, he thought that was the greatest thing ever, and we had a great laugh about it. And once I convinced the security forces guy that we were homies and it was just a joke, he still was not very happy with me and failed to find the humor in it, but did not tase or detain me. So at the end of the day, it was a win. But of course, sadly, like most times, the tumor decided to remanifest in his brain after a couple of years of being tumor free, I guess, which apparently never was. But so it grew back in his brain, and they radiated the shit out of it, and with the crazy like Hannibal Lecter mask. And if you guys have never seen how that works, it's wild stuff. But once he started getting sick again, a bunch of us decided to put together this 68 Chev pickup that he had wanted to build and had amassed all these parts for, but just wasn't in a position to do it. So a whole bunch of us got together, a bunch of his best friends, and put this truck together, like went from a pile of just junk parts to an amazing little lowered hot 383 stroked C10 so that he could go race on the salt flats, before he died, essentially. So we put this truck together, scrambled. I mean, weeks and weeks and weeks of hours and long hours and everything else. And we get it all together with hand controls and everything else. It runs, it drives, it's hot. I drag it out to the salt flats on the trailer it would have had to been World of Speed. And again, it would have had to been 2004. In September of 2004, the World of Speed event put on by the Utah Salt Flats Racing Association. It's a great event. They have a 130 club and a 150 club, which is just for the everyman who wants to go out and get a taste of racing. And it's a fantastic little event. So we took him out there, and again, it's got hand controls. He's in pretty bad shape by this point. Has to have one eye covered just so he can try and focus. And I mean, if he hadn't have been on his deathbed, it would have been against everything in my good conscience to send him down the salt at a high rate of speed in the condition he was in. But I knew what was at stake, and it had to happen. So we take him over and line him up, and it's a standing mile track. You have to do at least 130 point something 2 times to get, an average of 130 plus to get into the club. Well, he'd never even driven the truck. I take that back. He had kind of driven around, like over in the North 40 next to the pits, just kind of putted around a little bit when we got there. And he was super nervous, and unbeknownst to me, he really couldn't see. I feel like at a later time he told me that he almost couldn't see at all, which he, of course, did not tell me at the time. But so I just said, okay, just take it easy, man. Just go ahead and run it down the track. You don't have to do anything wild. Everybody here knows, like all the officials know what's going on. Everyone knows, and typically you would only get, two tries to do what you got to do, but because of his circumstances and the people that we know and everything else, like it was just kind of known and kind of okay that, it might take him a couple tries, but let's just let him try, kind of a thing. So I told him, just give it a go, man. Just take a cruise down through the track and, and turn out, get a feel for the track, get a feel for the truck, get a feel for going fast and everything else, as fast as you feel comfortable with. Like there's no pressure, just go 60 or whatever and see what it feels like. And then if it feels good, then come back and give it some more, And so he says, okay. And he takes off and he starts heading down the track, and what seemed like the world's longest mile ever, I see him turn out and he starts heading back, and he comes back and he hands me a timing slip. And it's like 81.6 or 86.7 or I don't know, something right in that neighborhood. And I said, geez, I thought you were going to take it easy. And he says, well, I thought I did. I said, okay, well, that's a good thing, Then it feels good enough that, like it's going straight and it's not getting crazy and anything else. I said, well, hell with it then. Go ahead and go again, and give her some beans, shower down on it a little bit and see what happens. So, okay. And he starts to take off again. And this time you can hear him kind of throttle into it a little bit, and he gets a little sideways, and I'm already kind of like a nervous mom, on the first day of school, but now he's a little bit sideways, and I kind of freak out a little bit. But he comes back and he hands me a timing slip, and I want to say, like I said, it's been a long time. I want to say it was 106, 108 miles an hour, like it was more, but not a lot. I said, okay, well, all right, if that felt good, then do it again. He says, okay. So he does it again. Brings me back to timing slip for like literally the exact same mile an hour. The exact same, trap times, everything. Like it was, he might as well just have handed me the same timing slip. And I thought, well, that's weird, So me and the other couple of brethren who were helping him achieve this goal start going, okay, well, maybe we underestimated the gears, or, maybe it's not cleaning out on the top end. I don't know. Something's wrong. How did he completely recreate that? So, okay, do it again. This time, give it full throttle. So he does. You guessed it. Identical. I said, I thought you were going to give it full throttle. He said, I did. I gave it everything it had. I thought, okay. All right, well, then we're too fat. We're too fat in the carb. It's not cleaning out on the top end. It's running out of gear, like something. Let's take it back to the pits, go through it, see what's going on. So we take it back to the pits, and we're kind of going over everything. We double check the gear ratio because we hadn't even been into the rear axle. It was literally just an axle that was in a pile of parts. We had counted it, but it was time to start second guessing things. So, we checked the plugs, we checked the timing, we set the air fuel, reset the air fuel, everything. Made sure we were, total timing was perfect, tire pressure, everything. And then a storm started coming in. And if you guys have ever played around on the salt flats, it's not good. A storm on the salt is not good. Either A, it's going to put down water, or a little bit of crosswind, and it's time to shut down the track because it's just too dangerous. A 5-mile-an-hour crosswind at, 200 or 300 miles an hour might as well be the finger of God just swiping you off the track. So the storm starts to come in, and I start thinking, well, okay, maybe, maybe we're not getting full throttle for some reason. And then I had an epiphany that he had wanted this power bucket seat, like out of a, I don't know, like a 1993 Dodge Daytona or some damn thing that we had put in there, thinking, oh yeah, this will be cool. It'll make it easier for him to adjust it for his legs and his hand controls and everything, and get comfortable. So I thought, oh no, you got to be shitting me. Well, in order for him to not just flop around in the cab, we had to bungee cord his legs like to the steering column after he got in. This is how the whole bungee cord thing comes back into play. But I thought, oh my God, I wonder if he adjusted that damn seat after we had bungee corded him. So I told him to get back in the truck and get exactly how he was the last time so I could watch. And sure enough, his hand controls were coming down and hitting his leg, effectively crippled cruise control. And I thought, you got to be shitting me, man. I said, dude, you were hitting your leg the whole time. He says, well, I can't feel it. It's not like I could feel it hitting my leg. And I thought, oh my God. So I got out under the hood and checked, and sure enough, it's half throttle. Like, it's exactly half throttle where it's hitting his leg when he pulls it all the way to full throttle. You can't make this shit up. So we make a bunch of adjustments, and unfortunately, by that time the storm had rolled in and we were forced to shut down, and we never got to give it all the beans. He never got to give it all the beans. But by damn it, he got to go down the salt at 100+ miles an hour a few times and just have the time of his life before we had to pack it up and head home because of the storm. And then after he passed, we took his ashes out. A bunch of us took his ashes out and blew them out of his truck on the salt flats at 100+ miles an hour. So that is where he now resides and where he always wanted to be. So, yeah. Long story. Hope it was entertaining. Hope you guys have had fun with this episode. It's probably time for me to shut up. But as always, we'd love to hear your feedback. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed it. Keep your heads on a swivel, guys. I know I say it a lot, but now more than ever, the place is getting out of control, and I don't see that changing anytime soon, unfortunately. Hit us up at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com. Likes, comments, hates, death threats, whatever. If you want to try and put something together, if you want to advertise, if you want to sponsor, whatever you're thinking, get at us. Hopefully, it'll probably be a few weeks, I'm not going to lie, but hopefully we can put together a group episode soon where we're either not too tired or ran out of time or anything else. You guys know that you're going to keep hearing about hill climbs. It's that time of year, kids. Hill climbing season. Gotta love it. If you're looking to either join or get into or try your first motorcycle hill climb out, join us on May 1st and 2nd. You can get more information, tickets, all that good stuff at x12events.com. Again, you know where to find us, blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com or on Facebook. At least that's the one I normally check. But, yeah, I think that's it. Well, turns out I'll remember after we're done. Anyhow, appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Until next time. Cheers.